Let's talk about what we're doing to white people. There's been something going on for a while now that we're being told not to notice. More to the point, that we're asking white people not only to ignore, but to accept. The rising tide of racial hatred against white people. In the past decade, there has been a noticeable cultural shift in what constitutes acceptable speech as it relates to white people. Back when I was a kid, in the early 2000s, the mainstream American culture preached about respecting each other's differences and not seeing color. Nowadays, we say that not seeing color is racism, that you must see color. But the more I see how things are unfolding, the more I'm convinced that this is wrong. Back then, saying something offhanded about white people were seen as not appropriate, just as it would be to say something offhanded about people of any other race. But that soon gave way to our current times, in which there exists virtually no limit to what racial minorities can and do say about white people. I believe this is the natural outgrowth of a perverse ideology that teaches us that every societal ill, is the fault of white people, and that whatever prejudice acts we may inflict upon them does not constitute discrimination because we don't have the power to discriminate. And alarmingly, this is particularly pronounced in the younger generation. But is it true? Do we not have the power to discriminate? Well, let's see.
This is not where I thought this video was going to go.
Where did you thought? Where did you think it was going?
What are we doing to white people? And I was going to say erasing them, which I agree we are. With every interracial relationship, white people, we're immigrating, they're not having babies, we're erasing them. I thought that's where it's going to go.
We're not erasing them.
I thought the Chinese guy was going to be like, hey, themselves. Man, you know what we doing? We bringing our people, we taking over, right? And I was going to celebrate it.
You was about to celebrate it.
Yeah, the future. Sorry. I love y'all, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it is, like y'all don't have kids. It is what it is. Like, what you want me to say, right? Okay. And then he went to where he went, and I don't disagree because I feel like this is stuff I've already said before. I personally think it's super cringe when some minorities get up on these platforms and say, everything is white supremacy. Everything is white people's fault. And black people can't be racist or can't discriminate, or even when they're doing hate crimes and punching Asian dudes in the face and saying, I hate y'all. No, it's not racism. It's prejudice. I'm like, bro, that distinction is like, no, it wasn't grape. It was sexual. I'm like, okay, thanks, stupid.
But it is white people's fault.
What is?
Everything.
Okay. Go for it. Hit him with your punchline.
No, I got nothing. It's just that it feels good to say that. Taking all your problems and be like, there you go. Yeah. You wear that coat now. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. This is the first time I've worn this coat.
It's cool. It's
nice.
No, put it for real. Put it on for real.
No.
Side projects.
I'm too poor for that.
Oh, shut your ass up.
No.
Put it. They gonna put you in.
You know why I can't do it?
Why?
Because if I start, I can't stop.
Put that shit on. Nigga, put that shit on. Put that shit on.
Okay.
Put that.
I feel like my mom's putting me in a prom dress. All right. Hey. Hold up. We have made a decision. They have replaced Abba with Daba Zulu III, the king of Ethiopia. We have come here today to celebrate the crowning of a true king. A man who has come here, killed a lion, and worn it afterwards.
There you go. There you go.
I have come to these lands to conquer the white women. The women from the Caucasus Mountains. To inform them about what we are doing to white people.
What are we doing to white people?
We are giving them the daba. They are going to enjoy it. It is not a sickness, it is a cure. Hey, yo, how much you pay for this?
And it was 2,400. But we meet me up.
What? What you just say?
What you just say? That's not.
I thought I was about to pay a few hundred.
No.
Said, how much?
It's a few hundred. It's not. I didn't pay for it. I didn't pay that much.
Okay.
I paid 1.8.
I just want you guys to appreciate. He said that, and I can appreciate. I respect his preach. In my head, all I kept thinking was like, bro, I don't think I've ever spent over 100. And everything always got to be on sale. This is my brain. But I respect it. Because that's what I say. You spent 1.8.
But it was on sale.
But. Okay, you got it. You spent 1 point, but that shit fly.
That shit fly.
That shit worth.
First, let's take a look at the racial hatred at the interpersonal level. In today's society, it has become somewhat fashionable to think things and say things about and to white people that would not be acceptable if it was said about any other race. And we're being taught that this double standard is not wrong, that it is rather a form of empowerment. They'll attribute negative experiences that they've had with white people to their whiteness. You had an argument in line at the grocery store with a white person? They were acting entitled because they were white. A white driver cut you off when you were driving? They need to check their white privilege. Your actions, your conduct, and your existence, in other words, boil down to your whiteness. And ashamedly, at one point in time, this was how I used to think as well. And beyond the people in my circle, I noticed that many people of color have this sort of blasé attitude, an attitude most particularly pronounced when there are no other white people around. Things are being said not just behind closed doors, but out in the open. Not just between close friends, but between complete strangers. So here's the thing. This is something that I've experienced countless times, so I know that there are other people who are experiencing it too. I know it must resonate with at least some of you. The difficulty here is that no matter how many anecdotes I share, they are just that, anecdotes. And people who refuse to believe that this is happening will just chalk it up to my experiences being a fluke. Or worse yet, they'll say I'm lying. So I've compiled some TikTok videos. I want you to take a look at the things that are being said about white people, especially by the younger generation, the kind of statements people wouldn't dare say about people of any other race. Take a look at what is stunningly in vogue in today's society and ask yourselves, where does this lead to years down the line?
You have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color, you need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend.
What the fuck? What? Okay.
Like, don't just bring them. I might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans that day. That's all I'm saying. And another thing, it feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good white person.
Accomplices ask, how can they support Black and Indigenous people of color? And sometimes I really don't know what to say, but here's one easy way. Just don't have babies.
Women can single-handedly cause the white genocide that they are so afraid of. With 2.25 billion Asian women and 500 million white men, baby, it'll only take 2 generations. In 2 generations, there will no longer be any blonde-haired.
These are some things I noticed about white American culture. Being grounded is a punishment to them. That's what they call punishment. The least grounded, least balanced, most destructive race considers being grounded a punishment? Yeah.
TikTok really is a breeding ground for cringe.
And the problem with that is that algorithm. The more you watch it, the more you get proposed that shit.
Wow,
So you think
yeah. You see a bunch of people saying dumb stuff and spouting off out the side of their mouth and getting millions of views on TikTok. It encourages everybody else to do the same. And the algorithm really does feed you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you thought content creators on YouTube were lazy. TikTok got the laziest content creators I'd have ever seen blowing up on nothing. Women staring at the camera going, while some shitty ass song is playing in the background, getting millions. Girl going like, ooh, if he got a small dick, and getting millions. I'm like, what? But I guess that's what people watch. So
what is with Caucasian people and like their inability to like read a fucking room? Like, y'all act like you don't understand shit because y'all be the first ones during a conversation about the Holocaust to get so mad when Black people be like, you do realize that the original Jewish people were Black, right? White people do not need to explain to anybody about us all bleeding red because, baby, you all are the people that need to learn that lesson. Clearly, history shows that you all are the people that like to pillage and eradicate, enslave and oppress, attempt to suppress greatness because you all simply don't.
You went all the way to Africa to physically take Black people from their homes, shove them in on boats where a lot of them got diseases and died, told them where they could sit on a bus, told them which schools they could go to, which water fountains they could use, which bathrooms they could use, and that's sugarcoating it. Those are just terms. I'm not even describing all the disgusting things that happen, and they don't even want revenge. They are letting you guys skate by asking for equal rights. That's it? And you're still saying no? They are not as angry as they should be. Y'all are getting off easy and you're still saying no? Fuck you.
Some people look at that and chalk it up to the grumblings of the powerless. That's the idea that when you have a power disparity, the less powerful sort of has this general society given leeway to complain about the more powerful. The villagers complaining about their king doesn't have the same ring as the king making snide and crude comments about the villagers. But that's not what's going on here. Because although certain segments of our society refuse to believe this, even as evidence mount before our very eyes, in one side of the political aisle, people of color actually have greater power than white people. That is the truth that is not being acknowledged by the people that need to hear it, because this gets in the way of them wielding that power in the way they want, malignantly. I've heard from somewhere that politics is downstream of culture, and I think that is certainly correct. We have a mainstream culture that tells us it's okay to hold prejudice and hateful view of white people, and our politics is then infused with this energy, and we see active, overt, and on-the-books racial discrimination of white people that those who are perpetuating this hatred is refusing to see as discrimination. They'll say, no, this is remediation. These are the same people who are making tenuous arguments that some of our race-neutral laws discriminate against people of color. And this is certainly evidence that in one side of the political aisle, people of color have more power than white people. Because if we didn't have the power, we wouldn't be able to put into place practices and policies that does this. That's what power is. Things like Minneapolis local government agreeing to a contract with the teachers union that says white teachers must be fired first. New York City's government enacting a policy of having white seniors go to the back of the line on life-saving COVID treatment. A college professor that says white people should be killed and facing no repercussions. Cornell University banning white people from rock climbing lessons. One of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize white students. BIPOC only events equal no.
Bro, you need to stop looking at me every time somebody says motherfucking BIPOC.
I won't stop.
But yes.
I won't stop. I won't stop.
Too cringe.
I'm look at you every time.
Too cringe.
Someone's gonna say "poc" or "ba." I'm gonna look at you.
Yeah. Listen, I think when it comes to the whole idea of some of these laws, I think you have a very strong argument there. As far as like people making comments and saying all this stuff about white folks that wouldn't be acceptable, I agree, which is why I think everybody should be able to say everything about everybody. That's why people say like, white people can't talk about black people. I'm like, yes, they can. Go ahead. I know in the society you gonna get reamed your ass, but me personally, I'm like, I ain't mad at it. What are we doing to white people?
I don't know, taking the skin and wearing it. I'm just kidding. But what are we doing is, you know what? I hate this new thing. It links to a lot of things, right? I don't even know where to start. And maybe this is going to be like usual when I talk. It's a bit all over the place. But there's a lot of things to unpack.
Right.
Okay? What are we doing to white people? What are we doing? It's not so much what we're doing to white people. It's just that I'm just going to go for the first point of what he said. First, back then, it was all about I don't see color. And it's just like the Matrix. Animatrix. Remember that shit? At first, it was okay. I don't see color. That meant that. But what happened is people started denying the struggle that came with the color. Like, I know I don't see color, but I also don't see the struggle and the difficulties that you can go through. Yeah, I like you, but you don't make the extra effort to. So one solution was kind of not enough. And the problem with that is, where the problem is from, is whenever they dealt with racism back then in the 90s and the 80s, whatever, they always try to do it in some kind of advertisement way. With a slogan, with a catchphrase. Yeah, I don't see color. The problem with that is you're trying to emulate a whole ass problem with just one catchphrase. And people grab onto that, and it never solved the problem. So whenever you see, there's differences, we have to respect everybody. Back then they were saying, you don't see color or don't look at color. It's really just a catchphrase. But it creates other problems because it's a problem that is so complex. It comes from different things in different places that just solving it with a catchphrase creates other shit. People back in the 80s and 90s, the early 90s, they went on this bandwagon. I don't see color. I don't see color. Sometimes when you talk to old school people, they still have that. Yeah, but I don't see color. Yeah, well, and then you meet new people like, young ones like, no, there's a problem with that. I got struggles. We have differences, and I just want to be respected as a human being, which cause other problems. So that's where that is from, and that's the slogan thing. It never solves the problem. It's a shortcut to a bigger issue.
I see color. I like seeing color. I see color every day. I don't mind it. I understand the sentiment. The sentiment from an individual says, I don't see colors. This is a way of saying, like, I'm going to treat you as an individual, which I think is wonderful, and that's great. Unfortunately, sometimes there's unconscious biases that people are operating that you might need to actually pay attention to, whether yourself or maybe in other people. And that's where seeing color may be important. On the flip side, there's people who see color all day long, and that's all they see. They don't see shapes, they don't see sizes, they don't see nothing. They just see color. That's like, bitch, we know you see every spectrum. Okay, can you see anything else? Because that's not all people are. They're not just their skin tone. So there's a balance of those two things, which might sound like a boring answer, but it is the truth. I don't walk through life and say, I don't see gender. Stupid. I go to the bathroom, I see gender. When a woman can't do certain things a man can't do, I see gender. When I'm fucking, I see gender. It is what it is. When I'm watching sports, I see gender. I understand the concept of wanting to see the individual for the individual, and I think that's a wonderful idea. I think the way sometimes this slogan is employed, like Preach said, is it's almost to like disregard everything, which I think you can find a good balance in between. But like I said, the whole like white people are to blame for everything, I personally think it's corny. Everyone who's just like, you have some people just everything, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, the patriarchy, the patriarchy, the patriarchy. And the reason why I find this kind of messaging unappealing, and I think why this messaging is losing out in public discourse, is it removes personal agency. It removes personal accountability. It removes people's ability to feel like they can influence any kind of change in their own personal life. And I'm just not interested in messaging that goes that far.
So, it really feels sometimes like
yeah.
sometimes they just throw that out there, and it's like they don't pick themselves up.
No. How many times?
To do something. Yeah, well, how about you go for grants? Well, you know how it is, the way the system works. Nah, but you didn't try. Yeah, but the way the system works. Bro, just try to do it like that. We'll go through. Yeah, but no, it's not worth it.
Yeah. You can have two niggas shooting each other. White supremacy. I'm like, bruv, at which point are any of you motherfuckers gonna take any accountability for
At which point did you become an adult taking decisions for yourself?
No. There's like no balance between the messaging. It's why you see leftists being always about like this fat acceptance thing, and you have right-wing conservative people who are just like, well, there's nothing society that makes people more likely to be fat. It's like, no, nothing in the food, nothing in the programming at school, nothing in the education, nothing in the lack of access to good foods in some areas. No. It's like you can't have a balance for none of these people. That's what I hate about this discourse. But anyways, I feel like we haven't even played this guy's video, so I just want to at least give him a chance. So that's my thoughts. But yeah. If you guys want, go check out the rest of his video. It seems pretty well thought out, whether you agree or not, so you guys can go check that out. But yeah, I just want to cover that. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below.